equestrians, it's Claire here, and today I'm going to tell you guys everything you will ever need to know about owning your first horse. You know, things you'll need, things you'll want, tips and tricks from my experiences of owning a horse. If you guys have not seen my how to afford a horse video, I will link that up at the top. It's just a video where I basically give you guys tips and tricks about how to properly afford a horse and how to responsibly afford a horse. So go check that out. This is not by all means everything you'll ever need. There's so many things that you'll need. But like I said in my other video where I tell you how to afford a horse, just buy things as you need them. Buy them when you need them. You know, you can't buy everything you'll ever need for a horse right away. It's impossible. You would go broke, and half of the things you wouldn't even ever use, you know. But these are just some things that I recommend you have for your first horse. There are some things that are a necessity and some things that are just recommended by me. So I'll specify if it's something that I think you need or something I recommend. So the first thing that you need, obviously, is a place for your horse to go. Whether you own a place yourself with property or you board somewhere, you need somewhere that you can keep your horse and that's properly fit for your horse. So if it's property that you have, typically 2 to 3 acres per horse is what is technically in the books considered what a horse needs. So just make sure you have enough space for your horse and all of that junk. But if you're boarding your horse somewhere, just make sure that the barn has everything that your horse is going to need and everything that you're going to need for your training purposes. So make sure before you even think about buying a horse, you're going to have somewhere to put them. The next thing that you're going to need is a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of commitment and responsibility. Horses are a huge responsibility for you to have. So you want to make sure that you are prepared to have this horse. There is no magic number of how much experience you need before buying a horse, but just make sure that you know how to properly care for a horse and, you know, make sure you're being responsible with it, okay? If the first time you ever rode a horse was yesterday, don't go buy a horse. It's not ethical. The next thing you need, which is related to the last thing you need, is a trainer or someone experienced to help you through your first horse ownership. You know, it's always good to have somebody there that knows what to look for, that, you know, can help you. Whether it be a trainer or a friend, just make sure that, especially if you're not that experienced with horses, that you have somebody there to help you. Just, you know, if your horse is limping one day and you don't quite know what to do, make sure you have someone there that can look at it and, you know, give you advice. And I would highly recommend having a trainer if you own a horse. My trainer is like a mom to me. She is amazing and just so much knowledge, and I don't know what I would do without her. The next thing, which is obvious and typically comes with a horse when you buy them, is a halter and lead rope. You know, I mean, there's got to be some way for you to get the horse on the trailer to your place. Most of the time they're going to give you a halter and lead rope, so who knows? But typically, in my experiences, you get the really crappy halters and lead ropes that barn doesn't want anymore. So I would recommend buying a halter and lead rope. Make sure you know the size of the horse you're going to get before you buy it, though. You know, if your horse has a huge head and you bought a cob-sized halter, that's not going to work. Next thing that you'll need is grooming supplies. If you want to see a video of everything I have in my grooming tote, I will link that up above. But just some typical things like hard brushes, soft brushes, curry combs, hoof picks, mane and tail combs, fly spray, stuff like that to maintain your horse and keep your horse clean. just stuff like that. Like I said, if you want to see what I have in my grooming box, I will link that video up above. And the next thing that you'll need is tack. Tack is very different depending on what discipline you do and your horse, I guess. So just make sure that you know the parameters of like your horse before you buy tack. Lots of people get tack before they buy a horse, like if they're leasing or, you know, stuff like that. I had a jumping saddle before I bought a horse. I had all of my tack before I bought a horse, just from my horses that I leased and stuff like that. But, you know, just don't go buy a extra wide saddle when you don't even know the horse you're gonna get. If your saddle doesn't fit, that can be a huge issue. You know, there's always things you can do like half pads, but just make sure you're being smart. If you're able to figure out the size of the horse you're getting, do that before you buy your tack. But just some basic tack that you'll need is a bridle, a bit, a saddle pad, girth, stirrups. The list goes on, but those are the basic like necessities to ride, unless you're riding bareback. Next is a horse first aid kit. I think this is a necessity. Lots of people don't. However, you know, at the barn you're at, there's going to be lots of people that have all of these things on hand most of the time, but I think it's great to have them yourself, and I've slowly accumulated more and more things in my horse first aid kit as I've been, you know, having horses. Whenever I need something, I buy it and I keep it. You know, you don't use it all the first time, but some things that I recommend having, you know, just straight up front is bute. If you guys don't know what bute is, phenylbutazone, it's basically an anti-inflammatory for horses. It's like Advil for people, but for horses. Another thing would be scissors, Band-Aids for you, because we all know we need Band-Aids when stuff goes down at the barn. Multiple different types of wound treatments. I also recommend no bow wraps if you need to wrap your horse for any reason. I also recommend like diapers or some type of gauze, vet wrap, duct tape, Epsom salts in case your horse has like a bruise that abscesses, you know, just typical stuff like that that you can accumulate as you go on. But it's always good to have some basic necessities in case something happens. Next I would say is a horse trailer. Now this isn't, you don't need to have this, but I highly recommend if you have a horse, you should have a horse trailer and something to pull it with. You know, if your horse has an extreme emergency where you need to take him to the vet, you need something to take them with. Now, you could know somebody that has a trailer that'll let you borrow it, which is totally fine, but you just need some sort of transportation available to you anytime. For any reason, it's just safe, it's smart. You don't ever want to be stuck at your barn and you can't get your vet to you and your horse is colicking horribly. It would be terrifying and awful, so don't get in that situation. Next thing, treats. Because ponies are good and you must feed them treats because they like it. A lunge line I recommend, especially if it's a new horse, you know, and you just want to exercise them and get used to them and do groundwork with them. A lunge line is great to have. Horse boots are also recommended, but you don't need like bell boots, splint boots, open front and fetlock boots, stuff like that. If your horse has shoes, I would recommend getting them bell boots so that they don't pull and twist off their front boots and have the nails stab them and all of this stuff. I recommend it, but don't. It's not a necessity, especially not at first. Next things would be stuff like blankets, fly sheets, coolers, stuff like that. If you blanket your horse in the winter, if your horse is allergic to fly bites like my horse is, you need a fly sheet and a fly mask. And coolers in case, you know, you always need a cooler wherever you are. And yeah, I think that's about it. There's obviously a million things you could get before your first horse, but those are just some basic necessities that I think you need. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you have any ideas of other videos I should do in this first horse series, comment that down below. So yeah, that's all I have. I hope you guys liked it, and I'll catch you guys on my next video.